I'll be honest with you. I had trouble thinking of a name for this video. Yes, there is a culture problem, and we are seeing it in Hollywood. But did the problem originate with Hollywood or outside of it? Maybe a little bit of both. But Hollywood is one of the biggest purveyors of this problem. It might have been more accurate to call the video Culture Has a Hollywood Problem, but that would have been really confusing. Whatever you want to call it, there is a big problem, and we see it most prevalently in Hollywood. Our culture seems to have frozen in time, and I see no evidence of growth or movement in the future. Allow me to explain. Think back. When was the last time a movie really moved you? When was the last time you really enjoyed a movie? When was the last time a quote from a movie really stuck with you? Hollywood has lost its hold on the zeitgeist. There was a time not too long ago when Hollywood would shape the culture with its productions. Adults would line up at theaters to buy tickets. Teenagers would hang posters of movies or actors in their rooms, and kids would run around play acting scenes from their favorite movies. Let's play a little game. Close your eyes and think back to your favorite movie quote. Got it? Good. Now, what year was that movie released? Was it this year? Was it last year? Was it over the last 5 years? 10 years? 20? 50? When was the last "No, I am your father," or "You can't handle the truth," or "Do you like scary movies?" Heck, I'd take a "What killed the dinosaurs?" "The Ice Age" over the absolute drought of quotable lines in recent memory. The most recent one I can remember as being remotely close to the aforementioned is "I don't even know who you are," or "I'm not a Nazi, I don't control the means of production." Movies are failing to leave an impact with us. I feel sorry for those growing up over the past 10 years or so. Where's their Star Wars? Where's their Indiana Jones? Their Alien or Terminator or even their Harry Potter? They have nothing to call their own, nothing to define their generation. Culture has stopped developing. No, that's not quite right. Culture isn't just halted in a holding pattern, it's actually looking backwards. Culture has devolved into an endless cycle of self-referential spiraling. We are firmly in the age of remember when. In the last 5 years, the biggest movies were Spider-Man No Way Home, the third movie in a franchise, and the eighth in the last 25 years based on a character created in 1962. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the third movie in a franchise based on characters created in 1962. Barbie, a movie based on a character created in 1959. Oppenheimer, a movie based on events that took place in 1942, and Deadpool and Wolverine, the third movie in the franchise based on characters created in 1990 and 1974, respectively. For crying out loud, the three biggest movies from this year so far have been the disappointing Jurassic Park movie, film number 7, the disappointing Superman movie, the second reboot of the property in the last 15 years based on a character created in 1939, and the disappointing Fantastic Four movie, based on characters created in 1961. There's nothing new. Everything old is back again. How did this happen? I think it's a combination of several things, all coinciding together to make a big bucket of cultural slop to be offered up to us like we're pigs just looking for anything to eat. The first major problem is that the budgets have ballooned out of control. It seems like every movie that comes out, no matter what it's about, who's been cast in it, or what is required to make the movie, costs at minimum $150 million on the very low end. Most of the time, movies are more likely to cost $250 million than $100 million, and don't even talk to me about a $20 million movie. That's practically gone the way of the dodo bird. Movies are too expensive. What makes it worse is that these movies that are too expensive are poorly written. Hollywood's poor writing quality has been covered by me and a host of others across the internet in recent years. Political pandering, DEI, and intersectional feminism have turned every Hollywood product into an obnoxious, preachy diatribe about the evils of capitalism, patriarchy, and traditionalism. Add to this the prevailing presence of the girl boss and the general frumpening of female actresses, and it really shouldn't be that surprising that modern movies constantly fail. It's absolutely insufferable, and audiences clearly don't like it. The final piece to the triumvirate of cinematic decline is the dual shock to the movie industry we've witnessed over the last 5 years. The COVID-19 pandemic crippled the movie industry as production sets were shuttered and theaters were closed down. While Hollywood was eventually given special treatment by the government and allowed to return to work, the long-term lack of theatrical releases allowed the general public to reorient how it watches movies. There was a time when people would decide to go to the movies without really knowing what was showing. They would pick the movie that interested them the most and go watch it, giving Hollywood a great deal of trust. Now, people generally only go to the cinema when there's a film they want to see, and that's increasingly rare these days. Going to the movies is just not a regular part of the average person's life. This was only further exacerbated by the writers' strike in 2024 that shut the industry down a second time in a little over 4 years. Once again, just as movies had begun to trickle back into theaters again, the spigot was shut off. Hollywood came to a screeching halt once again. Hollywood pushed the lockdowns in 2020 and 2021 knowing they would get special treatment, but not realizing the damage it would do to the long-term theater-going experience. And now they were voluntarily shutting down its productions again. Hollywood gambled that it was crucial enough to the average viewer to shut down twice in a 5 year span and be able to return as if nothing changed, and they lost it all. Faced with the confluence of events, Hollywood has concluded that there is nothing it could do to overcome these problems. This is, of course, a ridiculous conclusion, but it is its conclusion nonetheless. Hollywood could, for instance, hire better writers that will focus on story and character rather than politics and identity. When these writers sit down to craft a script, they can stop just for a second and ask themselves, what would the viewer like to see here? Does the viewer want to be told they're racist misogynists? Does the viewer care about these pre-existing characters? But no, Hollywood is far too beholden to the most radical members of our society, the so-called modern audience, which makes a lot of noise but does not seem to spend a lot of money. Hiring better writers would solve one of its problems, but there's even more Hollywood can do. In recent years, Hollywood has become detached from the general public. It has a major perception problem. People, for the most part, don't like Hollywood like they once did. Hollywood has lost our trust and really alienated itself from mainstream society. This problem could be fixed, but I'm not sure it has what it takes to do so or even knows how to go about it. The problem is that while we often discuss Hollywood as this singular, amorphous entity, it is in fact composed of thousands of people making their own decisions. In order to solve this problem, the individual people will need to stop acting like pompous elitist snobs. Stop lecturing the public on what they think they're doing wrong. Stop destroying pre-established characters and lore in order to lift up new, more diverse replacements, or to tell a story that the writers want to tell, but aren't talented enough to tell without hanging it on the frame of pre-existing properties. Stop holding up horrible movies that meet the DEI standards while ignoring movies people actually like. Stop assuming the audience owes you anything and set out to earn their business by producing a worthwhile product. Stop instituting policies that artificially inflate the cost of your movie, such as mandating racial and gender quotas for production, or instituting burdensome production red tape requirements. Both of these solutions will correct the other problems the industry is having. If you focus on good stories and present yourself as someone just trying to make a product the audience will like, chances are the public will give your movie a shot. If it's actually good, word will spread, and it will have great legs picking up viewership as time goes on. Without the artificial cost increases, suddenly you can spend millions less to make the movie. A good movie with a smaller budget becomes instantly more profitable than a horrible movie with a bloated budget. But, so far Hollywood has demonstrated its inability to solve these problems. I began this video by asking why it seems like nothing new is being produced, particularly when compared to the 70s, 80s, 90s, and even the early 2000s. The answer is obvious. Due to horribly inflated production costs and lack of viewer interaction, Hollywood believes its only recourse is to make movies with existing intellectual properties that have a built-in audience. It can't take risks because the costs are too high. The price of failure is too great. Hollywood can't take a risk on a new idea from an unknown writer. Movies cost too much and the public just isn't going to the movies anymore. Our only options are to make the 45th MCU movie, or the animated adaptation of the live-action adaptation of the original animated Moana movie, or to ruin the Toy Story trilogy with another sequel. Hollywood needs a major overhaul. An overhaul that tears the industry down to the studs and starts over from nearly scratch. Unfortunately, the only ones who can make that kind of decision are the ones who caused the problems and would be the ones being eliminated. It's too much to hope for someone to realize they're the problem and decide to get rid of themselves. Chances are Hollywood continues limping along, collapsing a little more every day until the bottom finally falls out and the industry dies. It's a sad future for what was once an innovative, provocative, forward thinking industry that valued creativity. There are still some real visionaries in Hollywood that are holding the line, but their kind is far too rare to save the industry. What do you think? Can Hollywood be saved? Is the culture problem causing issues for Hollywood, or is Hollywood causing the culture problem? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching.